And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, another edition of KFC of the WTL 2023 Winter KungFu Cup Round 11. Ooh, it is good to be back. We had an intense weekend full of StarCraft, but now we have returned. With some more. We just wrapped up with DreamHack Atlanta. We just wrapped up with all the ESL Open Cups, and now we have returned with the final KungFu Cup of the year. This is it. This is the last one of 2023, and hopefully we see many more in the coming years. But for now, spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, of Solaris, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Onside, going for a 15-15. Let's go. It is Solar. And spawning in the top right hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss representing Maturino Esports. It is NightMare. I can't believe it's been a year. And we're wrapping up. We already had our final Sparkling Tuna Cup of the year. I think we already had our final Tenacious Turtle Tussle of the year. I think we still have our GPO of the year coming up this week. Of course, we're running out of KungFu Cups, and I believe this week, starting tomorrow, is the final week of the round robin stage of World Team League as well. So, yeah, we're kind of rounding off the year here as we do kind of ease our way into Christmas, into the New Year's, and into 2024, and it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful year of StarCraft, I believe. And yeah, I hope everyone has been enjoying themselves. Hope everyone has been decompressing after, again, DreamHack Atlanta and a very, very hectic weekend, just filled to the brim of StarCraft. And no rest for the wicked, you know. We're still casting StarCraft every day. Like, it's I think we're taking one day off this month. We're taking, I think it's New Year's Eve. I think we have, technically, if I really wanted to, I'm very tempted, I might still cast New Year's Eve, but for now, New Year's Eve is open for us. It's open, soon to be filled up. I'll fill it, Poppy. That's right. As we're getting into our first matchup here, it's going to be a ZvP. If you're curious, this is a weekly, typically a weekly tournament, but again, we are getting towards the end of the year, the end of the season of KungFu Cup. It's a seasonal event. We have returned here with the winter season, and yeah, we have it's open to all regions. We have, of course, plenty of Koreans, plenty of Europeans, even some North Americans and players from Southeast Asia as well. So the bracket is stacked! !B in the chat if you guys wish to have a look at the bracket yourselves. Again, it's big, it's massive, and it is a little bit daunting. I had a very hard time picking what I wanted to cast. There are like 3 really good matches that caught my eye that lead into really, really good directions, and I'm like, but I've kind of picked my series here for now, and my road to the semis and my road to the finals. So we'll see how it pans out. Usually well. As for now, we're getting to our openers. It is going to be a standard opener out of NightMare, going for a Stargate into... Oh, apologies. I assumed it would be a Stargate into Oracle, but no. It is going to be Stargate into Void Ray. This is very commonplace in the Korean scene. We spent the weekend covering a lot of European and American players in DreamHack Atlanta, and it was refreshing because we casted so many Protoss players like Skillus and Showtime and even Classic as well, and they were really not as fond of this. Like, in the weeks leading up to DreamHack Atlanta, players like NightMare, Hero, Classic, they're very fond of the Void Ray opener. We barely saw this at DreamHack Atlanta, which was, at least when it comes to the games that we were casting. So it was interesting to say the least, as Ling's going to be threatening a counterattack. We do have our tech of choice. So this is the reason why the Void Ray opener is so commonplace nowadays, is because you can hide your tech, and this is Glaive Adepts. You know, you can either, from here, you can go into a standard game with a third base with Oracle production, or you could go into Sky Toss, you can go into an Immortal All-In, or you can go into Glaive Adepts like what NightMare is doing. And it's very difficult for the Zerg player to actually scout and confirm. The third base is spotted, and we will delay the third. Oh, we also get a decent surround here on these Adepts. Come and kill the Adepts. Up. The stutter stepping is barely going to be good enough. The Adepts barely survive as well. Good trade here from NightMare behind this. Solar, he's just droning on up. We've reached the 4-minute 30 mark. I'm concerned. We should be throwing down a Roach Horn soon, but it looks like Solar, he may have been deceived and may believe that it is more of a standard build here and a standard follow-up. Lings are amassing to counterattack. Still no Roach Warren. There it is. Roach Warren now going to be thrown down. Reasonable time, just before 5 minutes, which means the Roaches will come out just in time for the attack. It's going to be cutting it close, but the Roaches will arrive, thankfully. Void Ray is going to be threatening more of these Overlords. Lings do go for a big counterattack, but we have plenty of Adepts here to deal with this, and the Adepts have been confirmed. They have been spotted. Upon seeing this amount of Adepts, we should be aware of what's going on. Gas is being taken to be able to afford these Roaches. We have a lair on the way as well, which is a little bit greedy, but we'll see if we can get away with it. As for now, Solar, he's just remaking more Lings. He's cutting workers at 49, around 50. Good worker count to stop at. Catches an Adept as well, but here comes the attack from NightMare. The Glaive Adepts have arrived. Glaive still not done, by the way. Oh, we're coming in a bit premature. Glaives finishes, one Adept does go down. We do get into the mineral line. A couple of drones are getting picked up. I say a couple, 4, soon to be 5. This is adding up. This is becoming far too much here. The Roaches are still in production. The Lings still amassing. 7 dead workers here. For what is this, 7 Adepts? Pretty good trade. But we do commit to the shade, and the Lings, they come in first round. There is a Void Ray to support. But the Lings will clean this up. At the same time, we have more Adepts here shading towards that natural base, but Roaches are in position. And we do not commit. And as the dust does settle, it's going to be, 8 Adept kills. 1 Adept did die across the map for 7 drones. So a 1-to-1 trade in the end. Lings try to counterattack, but again, we are in position back at home. All these Lings are struggling to really gain too much value. But Solo did avert disaster. He lost 7 drones, don't get me wrong, but this could have been worse. And now, NightMare's transitioning. And we talk about this all the time, but the downside of this build from NightMare, investing into Glaive Adepts the way that he did, it does delay your follow-up. It delays +1, delays Blink, delays Immortal production, and trading 1 for 1, it's not enough. It is not good enough, and here we go. The Lings, they come in for a counterattack. They do get on top of the shield battery. Shield battery goes down. So far, the probes do make it out. Oh, 1 probe does fall, but only a single worker here, so good reaction out of NightMare, was able to minimize his losses, but again, he is stuck at home, and Solar, he's free to drone. He's not though. He's free to drone up, saturate on 3 bases, but as you can see, no saturation, no drones here whatsoever. We're going for a big counter all in. Solar, he knows that, hold up, I know that your immortal count's low, you don't have many stalkers, you don't have your upgrades. I know that right now, NightMare is vulnerable. The longer this goes on, the better it is for NightMare, but how long will this go on? Here we go. Solar's going to be waddling across the map, getting a lot of damage on the Void Ray. No! The Void Ray overextension. It does go down. At the same time, Lings, they do come in from the right-hand side. Blink is done! Blink! Blink finishes up, but so many Stalkers go down. These are expensive losses. Biles connect as well, and it looks like Solar is snowballing out of control. If we were able to preserve the Stalkers, that was like, what, 6 Stalkers falling? Plus 3 Stalkers here that got Bile down as well. Too many losses. Too many losses far too quickly here. And it looks like Solar, he is broken into the natural. No shield battery, no overcharge. A handful of Stalkers are being warped in, but Solar, he has done more than enough already, and he is not slowing down. Not anytime soon. Does rotate over towards the 3rd base, where there are shield batteries to defend. As I say that, they're being piled down. They're being piled down one after the other. Tonight's Hostess pylon as well, that is going to be focused down. So we have the overcharge, but it does get depowered. And again, we've broken every single mineral line. GG gets called. Solar will take game number 1. GG. GG, well played. And yeah, with that, again, it was a cheeky build out of NightMare, but it wasn't worth it. We spoke about the downsides. The downsides of investing into Glaive Adepts. There's a PSA for Protoss players out there if you want to try out this build. It's a good build, don't get me wrong. Like, NightMare does it, Classic does it, Hero does it, but it does rely a lot on those Adepts being worthwhile, on those Adepts actually paying for themselves, or even doing more than that, but at least trading a little bit more evenly, killing up to 10 plus workers, or even if you don't kill that many workers, if you kill, like, say, 8 drones like we just saw, if you kill 8 workers, but if you keep the Adepts alive, if you shade away, and if you shade back home, then suddenly, like, you can survive that counterattack a lot better here. You do kind of dissuade your opponent from committing to a counterattack as well, and, you know, we can get a bit of a different dynamic, but in the end, NightMare was cleaned up, and here we go. We're getting into game 2, spawning in the top left-hand corner of Oceanborn. We have the South Korean Zerg player, our reigning GSL champion. Representing on side, it is Solar. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss, the Red Protoss representing Macherino Esports. Down in the series looking to fight back, it is NightMare. And as we get into this, a big shout out to the lovely people in the chat. I see Terran Lord. Good to see you again, man. Good to see you. I see Terran Lord in the chat. I see Complete, Wormshik, Dzień dobry, papi, dzień dobry. Pekoeta, Noam Chomsky, Easy Phil, Dammy, Sounder. Welcome. Nguyen? I always forget how to pronounce it. But I hope you're all enjoying yourselves. I hope you're all having a great time. Again, the final KungFu Cup of the year. We're here to make it count, and the bracket is looking insane. We'll get into the bracket once we wrap up this series. You know, then we can take some time to kind of go over everything and to settle into ourselves, settle into the tournament. We'll get there. We'll get some updates going. Until then, Probe Scout's going to be coming in, confirming the standard opener. It's going to be a hatch gas pool. Solar taking his natural. This time there was no 15. There was no 15 hatch. There was no extractor trick or anything like that. Everything's looking by the book. Everything's looking as it should. Very important here, especially on Oceanborn. The rush distance by ground on Oceanborn is shorter than that on Solaris. I mean, I guess the speed zones do kind of mix things up a little bit, and they do kind of fudge the numbers. But on the outset, again, it is a shorter rush distance. You can be very aggressive, especially with a ground-based push on Oceanborn, and it goes both ways, as we saw. You know, a player like Solar, he is more than willing to cut workers. If you make a mistake, if you lose too much, he is willing to cut workers, throw down the Roach Warren, make nothing but roaches, lings, queens, and just all in you. At the same time, NightMare could be tempted, I was gonna say, to go for a Twilight Council opener, and there it is, straight up Twilight Council this time out of NightMare, and it makes sense. On a map like Oceanborn, because it takes a little bit less time to get across the map by ground, makes more sense here to commit to something like this. Stargate openers are still seen on this map, don't get me wrong, but NightMare wants to be the aggressor. Again, NightMare, when it comes to the Korean Protoss players, he does thrive a lot here in the early to mid game. That's why so far we've seen Glaive and Epps in game 1. Here, this doesn't have to be Glaives. We haven't pulled out a gas. This looks like a Dark Shrine opener. It's looking like DTs, but we'll see kind of what direction we go in. Even if we get Glaives, it could be Glaives plus Dark Templar as well. And yeah, there it is. There's the Dark Templar. Oh, sorry, the Dark Shrine. Reason for this, we haven't pulled out a gas. So because we didn't pull out a gas, it's like we're committing. We're committing a little bit harder one way or the other. Again, this could have still been Glaives plus DTs, but this is just straight up Dark Templar here from NightMare. Is going to be going across the map. Now, what's important here is that this is a macro opener. This is designed to give you map control. Even if the DTs don't get damage done, the Protoss player needs to save them. And if you save your Dark Templar, even if your opponent has detection, you can save them, you can morph them into Archons, and then you gain map control. You can shut down Overlords, you can dance with Queens, you can thread the mineral line, and clean up Lings. And as you do all of that, you can expand and take a third. So again, this is not all in by any means. This is just a way to get ahead and potentially even end the game. Like, it's a way to get ahead, but hey, the bonus is that you can maybe even kill your opponent if they don't have any Spore Crawlers. Meanwhile, Overlord goes in and we see everything. So usually when you go for an opener like this, you have a Stalker. Yeah, the Stalker is a little bit too late. Stalker comes in, but we get a full scout of the main base and we get eyes on the Dark Shrine. Spores immediately on the way. We got one Spore at the third, we got one Spore at the natural. No Spore in the main, but there we go. Now it's on the way. So a Spore for every base. Prism comes in. Lings are here to get eyes on what gets worked in as well. It is going to be Dark Templar, but again, we have detection finishing up just in time. Now, we can still threaten this area in between the bases. We can still, like, try to pick off a couple of transferring workers or some queens. That's exactly where we're going here as we make our way towards the natural. We confirm that there's a Spore Crawler there in position as well. And again, you have the Warp Prism to pick up and to save those Dark Templar. Oh! You have to be very careful, though, not to lose the Prism, and we will escape, and from here we can warp in those Archons. At the same time, Solo going for a big counterattack. He's hoping to catch that third base. And that third is soon to be taken. Archons are going to be morphed in. Lings coming in for the counterattack, and are we what? Second Warp Prism? I think that's a bit of a mistake here, as the Lings ain't come in, they get us around, they're going to force a cancel. I legit did a double take IRL. Like, I shook my, I was like, what? That is, I don't think that's intentional. I think that was meant to be an observer. So usually the second unit you make from the robo is an observer. The reason for this is that these Archons, they can dance with the queens, they can threaten mineral lines, and then they can deny creep with the overlord. Sorry, with the observer. But there is no observer, so I guess we're gonna try to make use of this. Again, we're warping in. I 100% believe this was not intentional. I'm yet to be convinced. Or maybe he believed that the prism was gonna go down, so he instinctually remade it. We're going for a gateway explosion. So we were denied our third base. We're going all in. DTs, they do dive into that third base. At the same time, Archons were trying to threaten the front line as well, but we do take down the Spore. There is mobile detection. Lair is done. Roaches are on the way. Solar, he's looking solid here on these 3 bases. And again, NightMare going for this gateway explosion. We have, what, 6, 7 gates in total, but now we're working on a forge. So I assume that we would be going for a 2-base all-in, but with the forge, it looks like we want to expand. The forge tells us that we want to invest into upgrades, and upgrades, they take time. They do take time to invest into. DTs, they head into that third base. They kill 1 queen. They're going to get another. Not quite. 3 Dark Templar do get out of there. Yes, NightMare just trying to gain as much value as he can, but he's still stuck on 2 bases. Like, these trades have been okay for NightMare, but it just hasn't been worth it because he doesn't have a third. He has been just chronoing out probes, though. You can see how oversaturated he is. He is ready to mainard. He's ready to just rally his workers over and get back up and running with that third base, but he desperately does need it. Same time, Archons, they come into the main base. Spores in position. Prism being zoned away. Oof, we do save those Archons. At the same time, we should force a cancel. Very nicely done. The Dark Templar, they do manage to get a trade here. Queens are revealed. Solar, are we cutting workers? It looks like we are. He's amassing Lings and Roaches. Once again, he's coming in for another cancel, but that's a lot of Stalkers. Remember, that is 7 gateways worth of production. Do we have 7 or 8? Yeah, 7. Probes are now being rallied over towards that third base. Lings coming in first round. No, the Stalkers, they move out just at the wrong time. As Lings come in, they catch these probes, and so many of them go down. Oh my god. 11, 12, almost 13. And meanwhile, the Stalkers were committing. There's no turning back. Mineral line is already gone. It's already dead. And we do catch some of these Roaches. Big catch. Yeah, we dive on top of the Roaches. 6 of them are going to be going down. The Queen as well. Queen does survive. We get the Overseer, though. But that was a good trade, a good pick off from NightMare. Ooh, is forced to recall. That's a bit of an awkward recall out of NightMare because Lings got into the main. We got to surround here on the Stalkers out on the front lines as well. Archon goes down. The recall was necessary, but there's still Lings in the natural as well. And so many workers are going down. And we're not done because Solar, he's counter-attacking. He has detection. He has an Overseer. He will be able to deal with those Dark Templar as well. And everything is just on fire. Everything's in shambles here for NightMare. We get on top of the Zealots. There are barely any Stalkers left, not after what just happened. We're still bleeding out Stalkers out of the map as well. And we don't have to push into the natural. We can just break the third and then the natural afterwards. Pick and choose where we want to go. We're going for the natural, going for the immortal. There's no shield battery. There's no overcharge. Oh, GG gets called, and a Solar will take the series 2-0, advancing on to the next round. GG. GG, well played. A powerful performance there out of Solar, in control for basically the entire series there. We had some interesting moves out of NightMare. Like, for game 1, initially the Adeptras was doing well. Remember, we initially killed a bunch of workers. Then we lost all the adepts. And then when it came to this game here, it did feel a little bit disjointed. Props to NightMare, kind of like, you know, life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, where he had those 2 prisms, and hey, he was getting some damage done with them. You know, he was able to make use of them and harass and do well. But at the end of the day, he was contained to 2 bases. He was stuck on a 2-base economy. He just could not keep up macro-wise because he was down a base more than he should have been for quite some time, and yeah, that just escalated out of control. Something that could not be dealt with, or he just couldn't keep up with the macro of his opponent with the economy of Solar. With that, GG, well played. Solar advances on into the next round, and we can have a look at the bracket ourselves as we have our next series. Let's go.